thank you so much for inviting me. And I see you've got tons of people on the call, and I very much hope in the near future to meet you all in person. I think we're really going to talk about apprenticeships and widening participation. And I guess many people on the call are aware that apprenticeships can benefit all people of all ages, all backgrounds, and we really do want to make sure that they're available as broadly as possible to as many people as possible, of the right quality level, and also in lots of different professions. So that's been what we've been working on. And I'm delighted actually with some of the progress that's been made in apprenticeships, and I'm sure many of you have seen some of that progress, where we have many higher level apprenticeships as well now at levels 4, 5, 6 and 7, which really do lead to very good jobs. We've got them in a whole range of occupations. The one that I signed off most recently was a space engineer technician. So there's almost no limit now whether you want to go into health, or if you want to go into technology, or you want to go into almost any profession, accountancy, law, almost any profession now there is an apprenticeship route for you. And why are they so important? Well, I'm obviously a huge fan of apprenticeships, having done one myself. And the reason they're important, so there's a number of things. Many people from disadvantaged backgrounds, or backgrounds that have more challenges, quite often well, first of all, you don't know exactly what options are available to you. You don't really have much of the role models around you. You may have some challenges with what you've done so far at school. You've had a challenged environment potentially. And more importantly, certainly for me, I found that actually I needed to earn money as well. It wasn't an option for me to not earn money when I was younger, and sometimes that is a consideration as well. And apprenticeships kind of solve a lot of the issues. So my own story, I grew up in Liverpool, in a place called Knowsley in Liverpool, and it's quite well known. It's not actually very ethnically diverse. Knowsley is one of the whitest areas in the country, actually, but it's got a lot of disadvantage. So there's a lot of poverty there. So I grew up there, went to the normal comprehensive school, and I left school at 16 and started an apprenticeship. And when I started the apprenticeship, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, or even what I could do. I hadn't really had there weren't that many role models around me. My dad worked in construction. My mum was, worked part-time as a secretary. My granddad was a miner. Another one was a dinner lady. And, everybody kind of lived in council houses around me. So I didn't have that many role models of lots of different careers. There was a biscuit factory, so most of my family worked in that if they didn't work in construction. But I basically put my faith really into the apprenticeship provider and the employer. Having started the apprenticeship at 16, pretty much my whole career was shaped by the following 3 years. And it turned out the apprenticeship I did, which was with General Motors, it was in a car factory, and it would be what would be called a degree level apprenticeship now, and it was a rotational apprenticeship. So you went round lots of different areas of the factory, and actually they're the type of apprenticeships that I love, where you do get to see lots of different careers, because there's so many more careers than anyone can ever tell you about, and seeing those for yourself and seeing what those options are, seeing what you think you're good at and testing yourself in that environment, that safe environment, is a brilliant thing that you can do with apprenticeships. And they completely change your life, and in my case they completely changed my life. I went from not really knowing what I was going to do to then having a degree which they sponsored me to do and paid for, and a load of skills that became highly valuable in businesses. And I went on to have a successful business career after that for nearly 30 years. And it was really that apprenticeship that gave me all of those options and all of the skills that I needed. The great thing about apprenticeship is you never study the wrong thing. you will always study something that's highly valuable, because they'll only invest in things that are highly valuable. So that's another brilliant thing, particularly if you don't you have a clear view yourself of what you want to do. So I think, you know, what we're now trying to do is, how can we make sure that these brilliant apprenticeships are available to as many people who want them, particularly in disadvantaged communities, particularly in those poorer communities, and particularly in areas where we want to try and encourage more people to have this opportunity. Now, I know what we're talking about here is in the BAME community, and how to make sure these fabulous options are there for as many people as want them in the BAME community all across the country. And that's the challenge that we have. Now, obviously, we've got our Apprenticeship Diversity Champions Network, and thank you so much for everything you do to promote best practice, to make sure that everybody's aware of these opportunities. I always say, I think apprenticeships, and particularly higher level apprenticeships, are this country's best kept secret. I mean, I did one 35 years ago, and it's taken a long time to even get a system that's, you know, available to many more people. When I did one, there was only 5 places in my whole area, so it wasn't exactly available to all. So overall, there's a good balance in terms of apprenticeships. There is a good gender balance. So, you know, we do have a good balance, but we do want to make sure that more women can access apprenticeships in traditionally male-dominated fields. So they're the ones that normally are more technical and more digital in today's world as well. And that the reason is because they offer higher returns. So we want to make sure that more people can earn you know, greater as a result of doing their apprenticeship. So we recognise that women are underrepresented in science, technology, engineering, maths. That's well known, but you know, it has been increasing, and again, apprenticeships are a really good way to help make that change, because they're almost a lower risk option in a way, and they're a way where you're guided through your career options and you're guided through your study as well. In 2018-19, BAME starts were at the highest proportion for the last 9 years. So well done to everybody who's been working on that, because that is a fantastic achievement. And I think the more and more people learn about apprenticeships, the more they think, you know, where can I get one? You know, where can I get one? So now it's really about continuing to grow the awareness, and then making sure we can deliver on the opportunities once people are sort of committed to want to start an apprenticeship. In the first 3 quarters of 2019 and 20, BAME starts at level 6 and 7, so that's degree level and masters, have increased by 50%, and that is also a really encouraging statistic. If you want to use your apprenticeship to go all the way, then the level 6 and 7 obviously offer fantastic job opportunities later. So it's brilliant to see that they've increased by 50%. But of course, we want to keep going until, again, everybody who wants that opportunity gets access to it. 12% of starts were by those reporting a learning difficulty or a disability as well. That's up a little bit from 11.5% in 2017-18. So in general, everything's going in the right direction. But of course, we want to build on that work to continue to see improved representation of BAME people and other underrepresented groups starting apprentices, and particularly in those sectors that are historically underrepresented and actually are the highest earning. And that was always something that guided me when I was making my decisions when I was younger, which was, you know, my dad used to say to me, an hour is always an hour, and it's always going to be an hour. So all you have to work out is how much you can earn in that hour. And, you know, some of these skills will attract a higher wage, and it just is understanding that and making decisions about that. Now, obviously, an apprenticeship will help you once you've made that decision, once you've got that opportunity. They'll help guide you into a place where they make the most of your talents. You go as far as you can in terms of study, and you know, obviously enabling you to get a really good job. And there's also some really good statistics of apprentices that get kept on in jobs. So very, very high outcomes, and that's because the employers are really invested in you. They're invested in in helping you on your career. And of course, they're actually financially invested in you as well. So they do want you to stay, and they do want you to get a great job as a result of it. So I am, as you probably know, the world's biggest fan of apprenticeships. It worked for me. It was a life changer. I've seen it work for so many people. And you know, thank you for everything you're doing to make sure that these fantastic opportunities, which are just really good social mobility sort of accelerators as well. And I've seen it so many times in my long career, and I just want to see more of it and work with you guys to make sure that they're as widely available to anybody who wants them, and we remove any barriers that we identify to young people getting access, or even older people who want to use them to get a fair shot at a good career. They're there for everybody.
Minister, thank you very much, Mr. Gillian. Thank you for that. I think what you highlighted is the fact that it's about opportunities, about career progression, it's about equally about pay, and some of these are some of the pillars that we found with regards to social mobility. Minister, if I may, I've got a couple of questions for yourself about some of the things that we would like to know more from, particularly from the government on. So, my first question on the 5 Cities project, and so for those on the line who don't know what the 5 Cities project is, it was set up by the government to address BAME diversity within Greater Birmingham, Greater Manchester, Greater London, Leicester and Leeds. So we've seen the impact of that before the pandemic in terms of it growing and it having a starting to take shape. But obviously with the pandemic kicking in, it's sort of taking a bit of a back seat. Is it something that we'd like to see more commitment from the government in terms of the 5 Cities project, but not just the 5 cities itself, but beyond the 5 cities, particularly in the case where we are with the pandemic and how it's now a widespread issue that we've got?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, the first and most important thing is we've learned a lot. There's a lot of lessons learned from the 5 Cities project, and we will be applying those lessons learned and build on the successes that you know, all of those successes that we saw, to make sure that our future work is really focused on those outcomes across the country. And we're developing a renewed strategy to ensure that more BAME people actually continue to enter apprenticeships, and especially in those sectors that they carry historic underrepresentation, but even more importantly, they're the sectors where all the good jobs are, particularly with some of the shifts that we've seen in disruptions in certain areas through the global pandemic. So we will want to continue to work really closely with organisations such as your own to test our thinking and to develop and build that strategy using all the lessons that we've got, and particularly focused on those sectors where there's actually an awful lot of skills shortages in the country in many sectors, and we've just got to make sure that the apprenticeships and the paths that people choose are more in those sectors, because that's where you're going to really get the good career options, the ability to earn more money, the ability to get promoted and get those highly valuable skills that are going to really help you. So we want to work with you to develop that renewed strategy, taking all those lessons that we've learned, and of course also help us to support some of the key events coming up, such as National Apprenticeship Week, to really start to get those messages through as well. But it is absolutely a key focus, and yeah, I guess the only shift which has probably happened as a result of the pandemic is we're much clearer on some of the sectors where there's higher opportunity, and some of those sectors which through no fault of their own have actually been highly impacted by coronavirus. So we want to make sure that we're focusing on the former, not the latter, for these opportunities. There's no point doing an apprenticeship in something that the jobs market may not be there, or it may not come back for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that gives you a bit more focus with that as well. Another question, Minister, I've got for yourself is about intersectionality. So we've seen in some of the data where it's, as an organisation, we are coming in from a BAME perspective, but within BAME there's different intersections, and we want to know whether you'd be willing to accept our support and partner with us and our partners to understand the different intersections of race and ethnicity, more to better strategize in terms of increasing apprenticeship diversity, and particularly ultimately avoiding the blanket approach that's been taken previously when it comes to just BAME on its own.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. You know, BAME to high level in a way, isn't it? It is very, very blanket level. So you definitely to really have the right strategies in place, we really do need to understand, you know, those intersections of race and ethnicity, and you know, other aspects as well, disability as well as disadvantage, and all kinds of different intersections. And they do matter because they create their own challenges, and there's different sort of mixes of challenges. So we'd definitely be pleased to work with the BAME Apprenticeship Alliance on this, and to more broadly develop on our work here, because I think what I'm really interested in is getting the outcomes, and the more you understand you know, what the barriers are and the more you can do to remove them, the better the outcomes will be. So I think Jess Bushell, I think, is on this call. So she'll follow this up afterwards with you to see how we can do that in a way that allows us to get much better outcomes as well for people. You're on mute.
Somebody had to shout at me today, so I had it yesterday, I had it today. Yeah, so that's brilliant. I'll follow that up with Jess on that. But thank you very. I understand, obviously, in current circumstances, it's a very busy period for yourself. But I really appreciate the fact that you've taken time out to kind of spend some time with us today, and I really appreciate your support in terms of this agenda. And what we do hope that we want to continue the momentum of this conversation beyond just us speaking at a forum as well.
And thank you, because we really appreciate your approach, your support, your continued hard work and efforts to spread the word. And it's very, very much appreciated. And I very much look forward to meeting you in person. And
there's about 70, 80 other people who are also part of this, you know, wider conversation as well. And I think there's a lot of momentum that we're trying to continue along with everybody here. But yeah, Minister, thank you very much. And one day we do hope that we will be around the table and talking further about this.
Brilliant, and keep up the good work to all of you. Thank you for everything you do. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.